Hi, welcome back to a new episode of the next frequency. Last week was crazy in terms of energy. I was exhausted and I couldn't sleep. It was very double. It was crazy. I cried. I cried so much. That's the reason that the blue full moon episode is a little bit later because I really needed to release and let it all go. And I really needed to take time to take care of myself. So that's what I did. If you've recognized any of the things I just mentioned, if you were there last week, then this isn't a coincidence, and neither was the blue moon in Sagittarius sitting directly on one of the most powerful fixed stars in the entire sky. The blue full moon was not a manifestation moon, it was a reckoning. But before we go anywhere, put one hand on our chest. Not because something is wrong, but because I am going to talk about real astrology tonight and I want you to have a place to come back to. That hand, that warmth, remember where it is. One question before the astrology. What is the belief you are still living inside of that somewhere deep down you know is no longer true for you? Not about other people, about yourself. Hold it right there, we are coming back to it. Because that is exactly what this blue moon came here to burn. A blue moon is the second full moon in a single calendar month, once every 2 to 3 years. Something rare that happens, something that breaks the ordinary rhythm. This month opened May 1st with a full moon in Scorpio. That moon told us one thing: dig, go inward, face what you've been avoiding. So we entered May with a descent. So we enter May with a descent. Shadow, the parts we don't show anyone. And now, last day of May, we close with fire. Sagittarius, the archer, the one who, after all that shadow work, looks up and asks, where am I actually aiming? But here's what no one tells you. We can't aim at anything new if we are still gripping the old story. And that old story, that belief we opened with, is harder to release than it looks. Not because we are weak, because of where it actually came from. And that is where we are going. The full picture, because this moon is not operating alone. First, we have Saturn and Neptune in Aries trine the blue moon. Saturn conjuncted Neptune in February at 0 degrees of Aries. It's the very first degree of the zodiac. Structure meeting dream, discipline meeting faith. Both of them in an open channel to the blue moon. Saturn says ground yourself, Neptune says trust what you can't yet see. The blue moon says aim. That hand on your chest, one breath. That tension between holding on and trusting, you can feel it right there. That's Saturn and Neptune in your body. Second, we have Pluto retrograde Aquarius. Pluto went retrograde May 6th. When Pluto moves backward, it asks us to digest what it already tore open. Pluto in Aquarius is breaking down the stories we tell ourselves about who we are allowed to be. Who deserves to take up space, who gets to want things. Retrograde, that gaze turns inward to the part of us that says, I'm fine on my own, while quietly starving for real connection. What are we still hiding behind the idea of not needing anyone? Third, Uranus and Gemini opposition. Uranus doesn't knock, it breaks through. It is shattering the stories we've been handed as truth about ourselves, about what's possible, about what we are allowed to be. Volatile, electric. It does not care about our comfort. And it's sitting directly across from a moon in Sagittarius. The sign of the belief systems we use to hold our whole life together. When the force that destroys stories meets the place where we store our deepest ones. Something gives. That restlessness, that grief with no name, the irritability that comes out sideways, not personal failure, evolution happening whether we agreed to it or not. Fourth, Jupiter in Cancer. Jupiter, traditional ruler of Sagittarius, in Cancer right now. Cancer is the sign of home, family, memory, the emotional blueprints we were handed before we were old enough to question them. Jupiter expands what we carry from the past here, the inherited survival maps, the beliefs that were drawn for us by people navigating their own impossible circumstances. Fifth, Mars and Taurus. Quincunx. So then there is Mars. Mars is being stubborn right now. It's the feeling of knowing something needs to move and your feet are completely stuck in the mud. Don't fight the mud, just breathe into it. Mars in Taurus moves slowly. But when it moves, it does not stop. The body will find its way. We don't have to force it tonight. Now here is where it gets ancient. The blue moon sits conjunct a fixed star called Antares. Antares is the heart of the scorpion, one of the four royal stars of Persia, the watchers of the heavens. The Persians called it the watcher of the west, the Greeks named it like Ares, like Mars, because its red burning presence in the sky looked like the god of war himself. At the same time, the sun in Gemini is conjuncting the opposing royal star, Aldebaran, the watcher of the east, the eye of illumination. When both watchers activate simultaneously, east facing west across the entire sky, astrologers across centuries have understood this as a moment of unavoidable reckoning. Not punishment, reckoning. Aldebaran, leadership born from courageous integrity. It is success earned by honoring truth, even when it costs something. Antares is the shadow of that courage. It is the obsession, the compulsion, the willingness to burn everything down rather than face what lives in your own heart. But at its highest, it is the raw honesty that refuses to be comfortable with comfortable lies. These ancient watchers aren't just points in the sky. They are the two sides of the internal battle we are fighting right now. It is the part of us that knows the truth versus the part of us that is terrified of what changes if we actually live it. What is worth protecting in your life right now? Not your image, not the version of you that learns to be acceptable. What is actually worth it? Let me know in the comments. That hand on your chest, what's happening there right now? Even if it's just a slight tightness, even if it's nothing at all, just notice it. You're not doing it wrong. There is no wrong way of doing it. Whatever it is, that is the answer. Here is what I need to say. Sagittarius is the sign of truth and not the comfortable truth. The shadow of Sagittarius is the belief that has become so fused with who we think we are that we've forgotten it's just a story. And not the only one available with that. We all carry a belief that was once a survival strategy. I am too much, I am not enough. If I need, I will be abandoned. If I trust, I will be betrayed. These were not born in weakness, honey. They were born in intelligence. The mind protecting us the only way it knew how. But the protection, that became the prison. And there is the part that makes it so hard to see. Most of us already know our pattern. We've named it, we've journaled it, cried about it at 2 a.m. And then we just do the light version. We don't completely abandon ourselves, we just understand everyone's perspective a little more than they deserve. We don't disappear, we just make ourselves a little smaller so there's more room. We don't stop trusting, we just explain ourselves a little more than necessary, so that maybe this time we won't be misunderstood. The pattern isn't gone, we've just turned down the volume. Quiet enough to live with it. Quiet enough we don't have to look at it directly. But our body keeps the score. And the blue moon is turning that volume back up. Not to punish us, Because the quiet version is still costing us something we can no longer afford. I know this because I live it. My version is speaking truth so loudly, so precisely that I sometimes use it to avoid the one truth I'm actually most afraid of. I know how to talk about healing, how to talk about freedom and spirituality. I built a whole practice around it. And there have been moments, more than I'd like to admit, where I was preaching liberation while being quietly terrified of the vulnerability actual liberation requires. So I'm not speaking from above this, I'm speaking from inside it. We are in this together. And I want to take this one level deeper. This survival belief, we have to understand it didn't begin with us. We have to think about our grandmother, her mother, the generation before that, the silence that was required just to make it through, the smallness that wasn't chosen, that was demanded. They carried the same stories we are trying to release. And those stories worked. We have to keep in mind that they kept people alive. They moved it through the bloodline as protection, encoded in the nervous system, passed through silence, through the things that were never said but always felt. That hand on your chest, you might feel it right now. That weight is more than one lifetime. So, when we try to release this belief, it doesn't only feel like personal growth, it feels like betrayal of the people who needed it to survive, of the loyalty we carry for those who came before. We are not abandoning them. We are completely what they could not. The work they started in silence, in the dark, we are finishing it in the light. That is not betrayal, that is the deepest love a bloodline can know. The body knows all of this. The nervous system has been running their threat assessments and ours for decades. Uranus and Gemini is breaking those old pathways because the mind will not do it willingly. That restlessness is not dysfunction, it is evolution. This blue moon is the second act of a story that started May 1st in Scorpio. Scorpio said face it, Sagittarius says, now, where are you going? Before we answer that, one moment for what brought us here. The survival self, the younger version of us that learned to adjust, to please, and to be just enough not to be seen, punished, anything. We don't leave that part behind like it was the problem. We honor it. They got us here through everything we don't talk about. All the things we survived without a name for them. The survival self did not fail us. We did not fail ourselves. We did exactly what we came to do. And now we let them rest, while the archer steps forward and takes the bow. The archer doesn't aim from fear, it aims from vision. What does the new era look like? Not on paper, but in a conversation, in what we stop explaining. Maybe it is a belief to the bloodline returning and saying quietly, this one was yours, not mine. We don't have to have it figured out. We just have to be willing to aim in a different direction. That is enough. The cosmos will meet it. One last time, that hand on your chest. Roll your shoulders back, shoulder blades toward each other like you're drawing a bow. Feel the stretch across your chest. The openness of it, the tension that you're feeling is not fear. It is readiness. Hold it. And when I say the last words, drop your arms, let your shoulders settle, let the arrow go. Not towards a destination you have to control, towards a direction that is true. That is all the archer does. Thank you so very much for listening. As always, please like and subscribe if you support my content. It really helps me out with the algorithm. I love you all so very much. Stay safe, stay unharmed, and remember, frequency is power. Bye!